I should probably have my tablet here so I can be looking at some news. I saw where Donald Trump and Governor or Mayor Cuomo or whoever he is for New York State kind of going head to head today.
Ah.
If it's up to me, I just
Well,
just ship part of New York City over to China and just forget about them.
Reopening is controversial anyhow. Some people say it's too early. Some people say it's too late. You know, they should have done it already. Some people say it never mattered anyhow.
Yeah.
And you know, with that comes the other side of this. The other side of this is, I would beg to differ that perhaps, and I mean, you're welcome to walk out in your yard and take your camera and aim it up at the sky and tell me what you see.
Oh, I see blue sky.
Yeah, what else do you see?
The sun.
I saw chemtrails and
Oh, yeah.
jetpacks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we haven't had those for a minute. So I would argue that part of the economy is opening up because I can count more than 20 in the sky from my vantage point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably don't want to get started on the chemtrails.
No,
That's
that topic isn't on me. I'm not going there. You can go there if you like. Where I'm directing this is towards the reopening of the country, and I've got an interesting view on this, so I figured that I'd kind of put it out there because I don't think anybody's got this view.
Maybe not.
And you're welcome to do Q&As once I get started, because this should go in multifaceted ways. First of all, we have the proponents that are saying we're going to get the country going. It's going to take less than 6 months. Everything's going to bounce back. Don't worry. Then you have other folks, and I'll give you a name, Menard. He said that the economy is not going to bounce back. It's going to be 2022 before it bounces back. And, that people are needing to realize that today's excellent stock market moves aren't realistic. Well, I'm glad that people are optimistic. I'm glad that we have people in this world that are thinking, okay, this is a temporary thing. That means we have people that are also thinking about the future and what might come of the future. Which leads me to my topic. Tell the governors, tell the presidents, tell all these companies out there. This way we get bureaucracy, corporations, all of them in a nice big ball of listening.
Good luck with that.
Oh, but you're not listening yet. We have an abundance of unemployed people. Many of them are planning on going back to their original jobs. Some of them may be questioning whether or not they want to return to their regular job because they've sat at home and they've relaxed and they've had peace and quiet and time to think, and they're not miserable. Somehow out of this, some people have found peace. I'm sure of that. So those people aren't going to want to return to their job without some kind of inspiration. So everybody wants the economy to come back. Everybody wants people to work. It goes back to my notion that knowledge is currency. It's also currency when you want people to go back to work. So if you want people to go back to work, tell them you've got an opportunity to learn a future skill. There are dying occupations out there. There are positions that are slowly drying up. The people that are in those positions may have not reached their full potential. In fact, I'm going to argue that 60, maybe 80% of Americans, due to either a lack of certification, may be qualified for better jobs, but they may never know because we have never offered the opportunity. Right now, we're wanting to throw money at everybody. Stay at home. Throw money at everybody. Well, I like the idea that I'm going to get paid to sit at home. But the thing is, I'd also like to know that when I go back to work, I'm going to better myself. And
Right.
so I would argue, exactly from my perspective and my example, I know deep down that I'm not giving my full potential. And I'm not getting my full prospect in life. I've felt that way majority of my life, that I could be doing so much more if the right person just happened to see me at the right time and I just happened to move into that better situation that I've been looking for.
Yep.
And, I got burdened down with student loans while I was young. I have no desire to go back into a student loan program. But an OTJ, is a great idea. Definition, OTJ, on the job training. And I would argue that right now, more than any time in history in the United States, since women went to work in the factories during World War II, have we had a better opportunity to pull up our fellow Americans by their bootstraps, put them to work, and see what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Offer to better their position, offer them training, offer them when they return that they're going to see an advancement as long as their production, their productivity, and the things that they are expected to do stay in a passing grade. I don't see 70% of the passing grade. So for all those people out there thinking they're just going to get by, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, somebody looks at your productivity, they see 80%, that means you're trying. You may not have all the avenues to get 90% or above. But if you're meeting 80%, that means you're trying. So a B grade is a trying grade in any world, any perspective. And this is the time. And I would argue that if companies, corporations, and politicians get together, that right now, and small businesses, that right now, this is the time to offer incentives to companies for on-the-job training that will advance the United States position in technology in all sectors, whether it be automotive, whether it be computer sciences, whether it be mobile technology and phones, whether it be transmission line technologies, fuel technologies. They all have technology bases. Food technology. Need to have some real good parameters for making sure our food is safe.
Yep.
There are so many chances, so many opportunities that this misfortune has made available to the people of the United States if we just seize it. And the people that were in the 30s and in the 40s and in the 50s would strap on their boots, tie on a bandana on their head, go to work in a factory that they don't know nothing about, hunkered down and done anything to get what they needed to do. And during the Depression, people went out, they drove, and while they were driving down the road, their tire blew out because they had old red rubber inner tubes and tires that weren't no good because they couldn't get the good stuff during Depression and during wartime. So they decided to use ingenuity. They threw quilts and rags and towels and things in their tires to get to the next town, to get to the job. And then they walked to work. and they worked, and they made the hours, and they worked for a really crappy wage, and they did everything that made this country great with not much to work with. And they didn't say, well, we'll get around to it in a couple of years. They got around to it. They got to work. And that's what our country needs to do. It needs to get to work. It needs to be productive. And more than anything else in the whole wide world, we need to be ensuring that our workforce gets educated on the job in ways that will advance us, not lock our people into jobs. We want those people to move up and
Right.
other people to have the opportunity to try their position, to keep the wheels turning up, keep the people going up, to better the country, not to stagnate it, not to make people feel lost, deserted, hopeless. All those things will not fix our country, and they never would. I've opened up a can of worms there. I'm sure there is 1,000 things you could do to come at me, different opinions, different stuff. I
Uh,
mean, you're welcome to come at me with it because I'm ready. I'm pumped. This particular subject, I want to see people quit whining, quit crying about the recession, and get their butts to work. And the companies to work towards making them work better. All right. I'm off my soapbox.
no, I mean, I think with, theoretically, that whole idea sounds amazing. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well, theoretically, if you told me the government was going to hand every unemployed person in the United States $600 a week to sit at home, I would have said, your butt's in your hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there again, I mean, just seeing um, the times that we're in, and I'm not meaning like right now, this section of, the last 2 months and maybe 2 months from now, getting through this COVID-19 BS. Because really, that's what I call it. It's BS. I don't care nothing about it. It's affected me because it's put me out of work for a while. But when I look at society in 2020, and you look at how many people are really like those unemployment checks and those welfare checks, yeah, I mean, I don't really see.
Well, you're
I mean,
opening
I
up a
myself,
whole nother.
I'm ready to go back to work too. I'm ready to get back to work too. But I mean, you have what your idea is, and what that is a grand plan, and it would be amazing if people would do it. I just don't see the society in 2020 doing it. I don't see
Well,
governments and small businesses and all that getting together to incentivize that,
yeah. And if
because
I
it's
would,
always they're pitting one person against another. It's not a unifying government. Number one is not going to be unified. They're not going to unify the people in no way, shape, or form. And in order to do that plan, people have to band together and work hard and do it together. Times were a lot different. I mean, 50, 60 years ago, people's mentalities were different. They're not
yeah,
the same anymore.
a little bit. Um, I'm going
Because
to,
for me, I mean, if working in a factory is the only thing I had to do or I could do, that was the only work I could find, I would do it. But personally, I don't really want to work in a factory. That's not my speed.
well,
And I'm
and
just coming, letting you know from my point of view.
right. Well, when I'm talking about production, I'm not talking about just factories. There are people that don't produce behind a desk. I promise you that.
Yeah.
What they do behind the desk is 40% of what they should be doing behind the desk.
All right.
Okay, so I'm not saying productivity as it pertains to just production
Yeah.
jobs and manufacturing jobs or shipping jobs or any of the other jobs attached to that. Productivity and advancement for people that show that they're putting the effort in.
Yeah.
At the same token, to take care of the people that want to stay on unemployment and take care of the people that have been staying on welfare, as you call it, which Roosevelt never intended for the welfare system to be long term. It was
No.
supposed to be the same as the CCC camps. It was a temporary program to keep people going, and men got hauled out to the CCC camps and worked in the timber industry and things like that, and other industries that were available, and the government gave them a stipend. Honestly, if I would have maintained one of those two programs, I would have maintained the CCC and got rid of the welfare system as we know it. It was never meant to be long term.
Right.
And what we need to do with that situation is make drug tests mandatory,
Oh, absolutely.
literacy mandatory, and they got to take an IQ test.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that can be done to help those people out, you set them up to where they can do a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you expect them to do it. And then the people that you can't help out, which there may be a percentage of those, I would argue that those people that are not literate, not educated, and are not retention capable, without major restructuring and helping them in life, in which they should try to do anyhow, that they may have slipped through the cracks and belong in another system. So reevaluating the systems would be a great idea.
Exactly.
Now, as far as the world in general goes, and timelines, let's put this in perspective. In a northwestern town in the 1800s, and I'm going to be nice and not mention the state and not mention the town, and if a person was really, really good at doing Wikipedia or doing, a search engine search, they'll find it anyway. The heroin capital of the United States in the 1800s. In the 1800s, we had it. So heroin is not a new drug. Meth is a new drug, and it's hard to regulate, but we need to stop going, don't do that. We need to start going, if you get caught with more than an ounce of a prescribed drug, you will be charged with trafficking.
Wait a minute. With a prescribed drug? With a prescribed drug?
Non-prescribed, illegal drugs.
Oh, no. Okay. Okay.
If you get caught with prescribed drugs that don't belong to you in a certain quantity, don't lock them up in jail. Make a camp where they have to get up every morning and work. And every day they go to a drug therapy. And every evening they return to the tent until they get it. A one-shot deal. However long that we think it has to happen. We need people to get their act together. And then if you get caught with a quantity in excess of this certain quantity, it's about the same as going out with a gun and trying to shoot people. You're destroying people's lives. If the punishment reflected the crime, it would cost those people's lives. Because the people they've affected, if you added up the percentages, it would add up to a life easy. And it's probably added up to more than that. And if the position of the country, and all countries for that matter, was to have a zero tolerance policy on that with a really harsh penalty, only the people that couldn't self-regulate themselves would be trying that. The profitability would not outweigh the risk, and they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you got to, you set up the military, stop sending them overseas for a while, set them up on the border, all the way around.
That was part of my 2012 campaign to become president, because I had wrote that 12-step program back in 2011,
Yeah.
and I still have it today.
And,
my 12-step program of fixing America.
And I'm really hard on this. I actually wrote a thesis on this myself a long time ago. So in this regard, we may have some similarities. I believe that if you took the people out of the max and the mid-max prisons, and you took them and you put them inside of a large range area that's fenced in, that has another fence of wild game and random heinous things on the outside, and have a few towers posted along the way instead of a prison, you drop them off with the clothes on their back and tell them figure it out. You get sunshine all day long. You got to figure out your own society. You got to make your own rules inside this line. You know, technically it worked for, one country I know of, but now most of their crimes were unable to pay a debt. But need to make it like it's their own economy, their own world, their own thing, and don't give them squat. Don't give them anything.
Yeah.
And make sure there's nothing in there that they have ready and available.
It sounds like building a homestead, living off grid.
There you go. and make them figure this
I'm
crap
all
out.
for that.
Now, I don't know how long it would take before they figured out how to work together. And, the gang mentalities might still prevail, but it's their society, not ours. They already got one inside the buildings. Why are we paying for buildings and electricity and free TV and free education and all these things for prisoners when we can be doing this for the young Americans that are feeling helpless? Why not take those privileges away from the people that are imprisoned for good reason? Give them a one-shot deal. Here's your society. Make it work. And the only time anybody comes in or out is whenever they're dropped in. And if they can make it out of the fence, past the guards, and past the wild animals, they have one chance to go turn themselves in for an opportunity at a program to reintegrate into society. Because the bad ones are going to stay in there because they're going to be top dog. They ain't going to be top dog on the outside. So the ones that are going to try to get out are going to be the ones that want another chance at something else. Now, this sounds horrible. And it would take away some money from lined pockets of people that get rich from the prison system.
Right.
And you could even make some money off of it by switching over to live broadcasting of people trying to get out of the prison. Oh, look, that mountain lion just totally tore that dude up.
Sucks to be him.
Sucks to be him. And that sounds harsh, but I mean, why are we providing for people that didn't want to be part of our society?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't want to be part of our society, or they would have fell in the guidelines of the society. So, programs to make people better. And cut out the red tape and the money, the bleeding line of our criminal system. They're wanting to let them out anyhow. Why not let them all out in a nice big fenced-in area? It costs a lot less to build a huge fence, 20-some feet tall, and post guards every mile. And have it have outside of those guard areas and between those guard areas, wildlife management.
Mm-hmm.
Allow the wildlife to live there. In fact, every wild animal we find that needs rescue, just drop them off in there.
When my older brother was dropped off at Parris Island for boot camp at the Marine Corps, you've ever been to Beaufort, South Carolina, I mean, Parris Island is literally an island. And this was back in 1985, and they told him, like, if you can swim across there with that gator-infested waters and you made it to the other side, you're free to go. Most of them that tried it didn't make it.
Well,
I'm sure nowadays, being 2020, you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So you don't want to say that nowadays.
yeah, you need to stop right now. You're hurting my feelings.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say what's really on my mind right now.
Well,
So I wonder.
Now, I'm not completely heartless, though. If inside this area that nobody else really wanted, that the government had, say, some BLM land or something that they made a prison in, or a territory in, they did to the Native American Indians. They moved them all into a different place, called it a reservation. Well, they could call this a preservation and stick all the criminals in one spot.
All right.
And when you pick them up, you don't bother to take them to local jail. You take them right there.
Why don't we just take them all to California and put up a huge fence all up along the California border?
Or New York. I don't want to give California criminals.
That'd be being too nice to them,
that would end
wouldn't it?
badly. They would somehow end up voters.
Touche.
They'd restore their voting rights. I think they argue that anyhow. So, and no offense to them either. I just, if you want them to vote, make them live in a society where they have no choice but to make do with what they got and figure it out, and then they can vote.
Yeah.
For everything except for to be able to leave that facility.
Yeah.
They could have their own government. I don't care. As long as it stays inside that fence line and we don't have to deal with the people that want to poison our children and kill our friends and,
That's right.
So, back to the market today. Market looked good today.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't great, but it looked pretty good. And to the naysayers out there saying, "Oh, this is all fake. You don't want to do this," what difference does it make what they do? People that invest in the economy, the people that invest in stocks are investing in the economy. That money's going somewhere. It's a boost. It's something.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're doing it knowing that that's all they're going to do is float the economy a little bit longer and take a chance that they may not get their money back, they should. That'd be the only reason to do it. That's kind of like my saying when people ask me about, they want to go to the military. Young minds want to go to the military. I said, I'm fine with somebody going to the military. As long as they know in their heart and their mind they're not doing it for a bonus check, they're not doing it for a GI Bill, and they've got this one notion in their head and this one notion only that they're going to serve their country, and the likelihood of them coming back home is not good.
Oh yeah. Well,
if they're okay with that notion after all the thought process,
yeah,
their bottom line is they're okay with dying for the country. Anything beyond that is a bonus.
Right.
Anything beyond dying for the country is a plus. And people that make that choice should have that in their hearts, because people that have that in their hearts can't be stopped.
Yeah.
They're relentless. They're fearless. And
Yep.
that's the kind of people we need in our military, not somebody that just wanted to figure out a way to pay for, school, uh, or wanted to escape their home that they live in. If that's the only reason to go, then that's not a good reason. Um, and you know, uh, the only good reason to go is to serve your country and know that you might not come home. And I say that all the time to people. Um, and they give you this look, like, okay, okay, okay. And I'm kind of hearing a blankness coming back. And I fear for people that do that because they haven't weighed everything.
Yeah.
And I, by all means, do not want anybody to shrug their responsibility. I'm not so sure that everybody in the United States, male and female, shouldn't have a little period of time that they're at least trained with the National Guard, um, of any branch, and the Coast Guard that people forget about, but the Coast Guard's important. You know, everybody should get some training with one of those departments, at least for, a basic knowledge of that kind of thing. Then everybody would have a common ground on where they're coming from. They know what duty and responsibility is, and when an emergency happens, people are prepared. They're not crapping their pants. They're not looking for somebody else for answers. They're going to what they've been trained. This is how you survive. This is how you do it. This is what you do. And if you see somebody else that's failing, pick them up,
Yep.
push them forward. Don't leave them behind. You know, and that gets back to jobs and employment and companies and businesses and entities that can make this happen. We need to be pulling up the people that are failing and get them forward. Get them moving forward. Get them moving in the right direction. Give them what they need to save themselves. And then this country's going to bounce back from anything because we're going to remember how it is and what it is to have somebody, anybody that's going to pull you up.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be people that go against the grain, and they're going to not do that.
Right.
And to those people, shame on them.
Hmm.
And I hope you end up in a fence out in the middle of BLM or somewhere, which I think would, be kind to have even grass for somebody that's screwed up in the prison system that bad. Get those security max people and those other max people out there, and then and blue collar people, they can all be in dorms, or not blue collar, white collar people that put them in dorms that and their shady dealings in business or whatever can be used to help governments
Become more
fix
shady.
fix their stuff. You know, um, fix their stuff. They've
Yep.
got the knowledge and the know-how to do it. Then make them repay it to society. Make them work for $4.25 an hour doing paperwork to help the governments get caught up on the stuff they can't afford to pay full wage on anymore.
Yep.
I mean, we got resources. We got lots of resources. They're sitting on their duffs in cells.
Yep.
And those people were never any account for society, but maybe they could be. Maybe under the right inspiration, we could empty our prison systems and empty our hopelessness and empty our troubled youth from all these places and get productivity, prosperity, performance. Uh, People that when they look in a mirror, they see somebody going somewhere. Now, everybody has potential to go somewhere and do something.
Yep.
I would argue there shouldn't be one unemployed person in the nation. that there are enough places with litter on the roads and litter in the parking lots and litter in the streets and litter in the water and litter in the trees and litter in all these places. We shouldn't have not one unemployed person. And if a person on welfare don't want a skilled job, that's a good job for them. Pick up trash. Put on a yellow or an orange vest. Go with crews. And go until there ain't another scrap of trash left on the face of this United States of America.
Pristine and clean.
You know, and if you want the check, you can have the check, but you got to pick up litter, or you got to wipe down the walls inside the unemployment office, or you've got to clean up their parking lot, or sweep their floors, or something. Yep. It's not going to be given to you. You're going to show up a minimum amount of hours every week to get your check.
So I'm thinking that South Carolina, this state here, could be the first one to implement all of this.
For a state that talks about independence and want to be free of all kinds of things, and in the South, we had all the criminal entities out picking up trash and straightening up stuff. And I'm sure some lawyer somewhere must have had a hand in stopping that. But I'm telling you, that needs to happen.
Well, so there used to be a time, probably, I don't know, where the prisoners would actually print the license plates in South Carolina. They don't even do that now.
Well, and that's a shame because that teaches them graphics because they're not embossed and stamped anymore. It's just a nice printing machine printing on the thing. Train them in manufacturing. There's your manufacturing start right there. Do you have a manufacturing experience? Why, yes. I have been printing labels on metal plates for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I get a recommendation because I did it without being in trouble. Here you go. Please accept me into society at a decent wage. Well, your daughter's calling me, and I'm on the video. So talk to you later.
She's looking for a mama is what she's doing.
Oh, she probably is. Her mama will come. So,
and the only reason I say South Carolina can be the first state to implement all this, because I have really been contemplating on throwing my name in the hat for governor in 2022, 21, 22, 22. And I know I'm not rich. I'm a nobody. I don't really have a flying chance in hell. But you know what? Can't be any worse than, you don't know till you try, So this Facebook group I'm in called Reopen SC, I threw it out there last night. It's like, yeah, well, this cat right here that's our governor right now, so I'm going to put him out of office. I'm going to run against him. And I couldn't tell you how many likes I got. Of course, I know it's just a Facebook group. I'm not worried about it. But, I ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But, hey, I think if I work social media right, I might be able to raise a little bit of money to make it happen.
Well,
maybe I need to start somewhere with like city council or county council or something like that. But I don't like politics. And, I hate politics. I think it's bull crap. And I think, if I just go up there, roll out the Constitution of the United States and say, you know what, people, you vote for me. I'm not going to waver from this document right here. This guy over here that's running for re-election, he already proved to you the Constitution means diddly to him.
Well, we got to have politicians and government.
Well, government's one thing. I know,
Otherwise,
man.
we'd have lawlessness,
Well,
and
well, the problem
and the
is
problem is we voted in
politicians.
Nikki Haley, uh, and she went off to the federal government.
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
I look for her to run for president in 2024.
I
And you
I
know,
don't
I
know.
mean, I originally when Nikki Haley first ran for governor of South Carolina, I supported her, and then she did some things once she got in office, and I just quit. I'm just like, I'm not supporting you anymore. And
Well,
see, the
uh,
thing about it is, man, it's all political. It's all about the money. It has nothing to do about with the people, because I promise you, they don't give a rat's ass about anybody in the state. It's all about how much money they can make, how much money they can bring in and line their pockets with, and all their cronies' pockets.
well, they're going about it wrong then, because if you advance and progress people's knowledge base and make them more productive on more skilled jobs, there's more money to be made.
Well, I agree with that, but
So,
politicians don't see it that way.
well, we need to see it that way, and we need
Which
to
is why I'm trying. I think I should run for governor of South Carolina.
well, we need to make a rule in the United States.
I'm announcing my candidacy right here on Common Nonsense
Oh,
on
gee.
April 17th, 2020. Robert Johnson is going to be running for governor in the state of South Carolina
Oh,
next
yeah.
time around, whenever that may be.
Well, I'm just going to say there was a whole lot of people that put their hat in for president that bowed out rather quickly.
Oh, I know.
So, um, yeah. Well, we need to get our knowledge base up in the United States and people on board with being productive at learning new skills.
Yeah,
Um, and then we also need to make sure that none of our advancements go off to other countries in espionage or go off in other countries as old equipment.
yeah,
Um, where we really messed up was at the end of the original industrial age boom. We started making better equipment, and these countries overseas said, well, we'd like to buy your old surplus junk.
yeah.
You know, your CNC milling machine that you're not using anymore, your old milling machine that you're not using anymore, or your old press that you're not using anymore, or any other old equipment that they had. All
Yeah,
this fancy equipment. Well, to us it was junk. To them, it was like seeing magic, because they took those things over to their country, they tore them down, found out how they worked, and rebuilt their own version, and then started competing with the people that made it here.
yeah.
And now, like my job that I've got regular, none of the components on my machine that I know of come from the United States.
Right.
That I know of. I may be wrong. We might have got somebody that made a punch or something, but the die from another country, the press from another
Oh,
country,
yeah.
you know, and we're making
Well,
stuff here with those tools, but at one time we were the leading producer of those tools,
yeah,
and we lost that. And textiles, we've got vast amounts of land, the ability to get natural textiles, lots of natural textiles, and go green, productive, and make it at a good cost base. We've got tons of trash. We could be recycling and repurposing and making it into another product. We could build jobs, probably for 1 million people overnight, processing the stuff in our dumps and landfills that need to get out of there and get turned into something productive and get out of our streams and our land and our neighborhoods. And it would be easily done. There's some little companies that have made a profit out of finding out what they can do with an item that was trash. And like the building code restrictions and stuff that I talked about. You know, why is an earth ship?
A what?
An earth ship.
Oh,
prohibited.
Yeah.
Prohibited in most places. You know, Taos, New Mexico, in a limited area. It's not the whole area. It's just a limited area. Has it's experimental housing, however they've approved it. Okay, you ram dirt into a tire. You stack them like bricks, and then you put one side facing the sun, and you put a greenhouse on that side. And then you pretty much can do whatever you want to do on the inside. And, you know, I mean, as long as it doesn't burn, it's not a fire trap for somebody. It reduces waste and provides solar into a grid if that's what they want. Why do we have to have restricted housing on the size, the shape of that earth ship?
Because government, it's about ruling of the people. They want to be kings and queens. They want to rule the people. They do not want to, they want to be rulers and they want to be overseers. All in the name of safety.
Well, the thing is, you know, they've been proven now since the 70s that they're safe. They keep a constant temperature, and they provide a food source, and the people have their own gray water systems and their own filtration systems and their own septics, and there's not an entity that has to deal with somebody else's crap because of it.
Yep.
And they're recycling most everything they have, including their poop. So.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are doing composting.
And composting, yes, and all this. So, you know, that's part of us not being productive. You know, we have the knowledge, the know-how, the skill set, and the desirability to do this stuff, but we are limited by some really dumb systems. Okay, another system makes no sense whatsoever. We are governed by the rules of 1022 or something like that. I can't even remember the exact date right now. Just frustrating. Land laws. You go to buy a piece of property. You got to go back 40 years on that property to verify nobody else has a claim to that property. Okay. Then you got people that don't pay their taxes. For whatever reason, they didn't pay their taxes. The government takes their land for taxes, which they have the right to do. They haven't paid their taxes. They got a right to do it.
Sure.
Now, it was a whole lot better because you could buy that property for the taxes, which was a very decent rate most time, and then you had to fix the deed. Well, now all these municipalities have raised the minimum on this property, but they're not fixing the deed. So people are paying these big prices for property, and the deed is essentially worthless until they fix it. They pay several $1,000s to a lawyer.
Is this what you
to
mean when you had to quiet the deed,
when
quiet
you
title?
quiet title, quiet the deed.
Yeah.
And, why hasn't the United States got out of the English system? And why hasn't the United States of America said, okay, all deeds need to be done like car titles?
Absolutely.
They're transferable. It's
Yep.
not it's not a you got to go through a big lawyer system to get it done. Either you own it or you don't. If you
It's
try to sell a
bureaucracy.
if you try to sell a car or land without a title, you go to jail.
It's bureaucracy.
Well, regardless, that system needs to change because the people that could buy that land could pull themselves up, and if they didn't have a whole lot of building restrictions, could build them a home, which would make them financially secure, which means they would be better at buying things.
I completely agree with all that. I mean, I do
So,
because it should be a simplified system.
right.
The
And
simplified
if the
system.
government takes any kind of property, if any government takes any kind of property for taxes, they should be required to provide a deed or a title for that item at the time of sale.
Yep.
So that it says all pre-existing claims are null and void. Boom.
How do you suspect? How do you suspect?
And then I got one more thing I want to add to that. Every single deed in the country needs to have GPS corners on every position of every shape of property. Within 10
Corners.
years, all of them need to be exactly proportioned and set up with no arguments, no complaints, no legal bull crap where people are fighting over what Grandpa Old Reliable used to say. They need to just say, okay, this is it and this is what it is. Your property says 6 acres plus or minus. This person says 6 acres plus or minus. We're going to figure out where the plus and minus meet in the middle, and that's where it is.
Right.
And be done with it. No more guesswork, no more arguing, no more nonsense. Just go ahead and make the system unilateral, federally designed, so that all land deeds go through the federal government, but the taxes go to the state. In fact, you might even have it to where the federal government collects the taxes and disperses it to the state.
Yeah, I think. I mean.
We're one nation.
I think. I don't see a reason why that needs to be a federal thing. I think that's fine. Just thinking off the top of my head, I'm thinking it would be fine staying a state. Something that we do. As a state.
Here's the problem with that, and I'll explain why that would be a problem. The only borders that are absolute and definite are the water lines around the United States and the line where the Mexico and U.S. border is and the line where the Canadian and the U.S. border is. And then, we know exactly how much land's at all the other places that are either states or providences or republics. And that gets me on a whole nother topic. I don't even want to get started with why Puerto Rico is a freaking state. Why it should be. I served with people from Puerto Rico. It should be a state. We need to not worry about whether or not our flag has 50 stars and worry about whether or not our country is united. That's what we need.
And let's make a note of that and maybe have that as a topic one day next week because there are several countries, small countries that are providences of the United States and crap like that. But
Sheldon, are we going to have fun with flags?
Huh?
I said,
Uh,
Sheldon, are we going to have fun with flags?
yeah, I'm waiting on my Gadsden flag to come in and my new American flag to come in so I can put it on my front porch this week.
Well, it probably come from China, and
Probably.
it's going to have more stars sewn into it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we need to be representing our republics and our other government attached entities. I mean, really, all these different places that have been sort of left out of the loop, they deserve a right to be in the country with the same rights and the same citizenship as everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't like it just happened last night. It's been
No.
200 years, you know.
But my question is, let's just start with our home state here. Let's start with South Carolina.
Well,
How would one begin to, I mean, because number one, in order to change the law, you have to have somebody's got to lobby for the law. So, I mean, I would love to see the real estate system, the deed system to property be simplified, just like you say.
well, I'd like them
So
also to
I figure out how do we do that?
eliminate all vehicles without titles and all trailers without titles, and fix all that nonsense that's floating around. Because
See, I don't know much about that. So.
okay, well, you got vehicles. The neighboring state of Georgia has a lot of vehicles that have bill of sales and no titles. They just like we need to fix it. They need to fix it. You got vehicles that can get sold without title and get registered here in this state, and you can drive it.
How is that possible? I didn't even know that was possible
Well,
here.
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. If you don't have a title, they need to figure out who rightfully owns the property. They need to collect it.
Yeah.
Make a date that is the last day that a person from that family that has a rightful claim to that item can come and get it. The last person who registered it.
Yeah.
And then if they don't claim it, if it's not worthy to go on the road, it needs to be destroyed. And if it's worthy enough to go on the road, just like they do with taxes and stuff like that, they need to write a title. They need to go ahead and sell it. And the same thing with deeds. If the deed is screwed up, they need to fix the deed at the time of the tax sale and make it a legitimate piece of property that somebody can use.
I wonder why. I wonder why that system has to be so convoluted. Why does it have to be so difficult? I don't understand that because
people are holding on to. There was a time when a lot of states didn't have driver's licenses. There was a time when a lot of states didn't have insurance. There was a time when a lot of states did not have titles. And so instead of saying, okay, it's 19 and whatever, and we're going to start making titles. If you want a title to your vehicle, you need to come in and get a title. Otherwise, those vehicles can never be sold again.
Right.
But they didn't do that. They had a grandfather clause. So you got a lot of vehicles that have no origin, no past, no record, no nothing. And people abuse the system with vehicles from other places that may or may not have had a title. It creates an element of crime. Honestly, it creates an element of crime. And it may be a very limited crime. It may not affect a lot of people, but it opens up the opportunity for a lot of stolen vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the receiving end of having a vehicle stolen. It's not fun. And what they do is they go and they take a bunch of stolen vehicles and they throw them together and say no title, or they take what they want off of it and say it was used for parts and no title.
Yeah.
And when the word no title comes up on the web in any sale form, they should go round those people up and either take the item and prosecute them for non-legit goods. It should be a law, non-legit goods. If you don't have a title for something that had a title or a certificate of origin for ATVs, four-wheelers, boats, and things like that may have not been titled, but they had a certificate of origin, either of those, they should have.
Yeah.
They should take them. They should take them all in, have a great big auction if they can't find the people that rightfully own them within 90 days to claim it. If they have a record of the last person who owned it, they need to send a message to them. You have a right to come and claim it. If you want to claim it, you have X amount of days.
Yep.
And yeah, there'd be a whole lot of junk piled up somewhere for 90 days, or a lot of somewheres for 90 days. But after the 90 days, if it's junk, get rid of it. If you can't prove where it came from, get rid of it, trash it, junk it. And then from then on, raise the stakes. If you get caught selling something without a title, make the penalty bad. Make the fines on top of the penalty bad. Make it non-profitable whatsoever for the risk. That way, you stop having theft of vehicles. The only people that's going to be stealing stuff is going to steal really rare and really expensive things and try to get them out of the country to places that will take them. But the market here will be gone.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need to restructure so that we can get rid of the criminal element. And the more legitimized things are, the less criminal elements you're going to have. So, deeds need to be fixed. Titles need to be fixed. And, and we need to figure out ways to protect our consumers from fraud in better ways.
Yeah.
If a company sells an insurance policy that is no good, for instance, you go and you buy an insurance policy on a vehicle and it says from the date of conception. Well, that's the date you bought the day the vehicle rolled off the assembly line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, say you bought a car that was made in 2015 and you bought the warranty the day after the day it was made in 2015, and it was a 5-year automotive warranty from date of conception. You officially paid for a warranty you can never claim because that warranty was void the day you bought it. But they're somehow legally allowed to sell stuff like that. And if that's not criminal, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
The need to never sell a warranty unless it can be sold from the date, not of original purchase, not of a conception, but the date of current registrar's purchase. Then it's a real warranty. And prosecute the people that would make the other kind of warranties. Quit taking advantage of people. Give them what they need to build themselves up and not feel hopeless. I keep circling back to that because everything that I'm talking about is things that prevent people from feeling worthy or well. I own a piece of property. I own a deed. It is legally mine. I can't use the property for anything until I pay some lawyer thousands of dollars to quiet the deed. And I had bought property before that was fixed right, but it was tax property. So I didn't even know that my deed wouldn't be a regular deed. And I even asked, but I still got a crap deed. And uh, now I think if I own it for 10 years or something like that, I can maybe file for a different thing. Uh, but regardless, I got to go through a lawyer to fix the deed. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be
Right.
if you buy something, you're buying that something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the county sold me a car without a title.
And just gave you a piece of paper just saying that, hey,
That we
you
sold
own
it to
you
you.
own it.
You own it, but you can't do
Okay.
anything with
I'll
it.
be done in a minute.
You own it, but you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So, in my analogies about titles and selling cars without titles and selling land without deeds proper, all deeds at the point of sale should be a warranty deed.
Yeah.
Now, if you hand it over to a family member, there's another way they deed those, but that really needs to be changed too, to where it's just a warranty deed. That from then on out, it's warranty, that whoever ends up buying it, they get a warranty deed.
Yeah.
You want to bump up the lawyer's cost for saying, hey, I was there when the transaction occurred, fine.
Yep.
Because there's going to be more transactions. But, don't charge somebody $10,000 to fix something that should have been right in the first place. And the government should have never sold. Here I am on my soapbox again, Robert. I'm taking
Love
up a
you.
lot of
Love you.
soapbox time.
Right. Be good.
And I was gonna save you a lot of headache and just do it on mine, and then I said, no, maybe this is a good common nonsense topic.
Well,
And,
there's nothing common sense in the real estate deed world and all that other crap. The government and everybody wants to make it so convoluted and so difficult to make anything, to do anything. But it all boils down to money. It's greed and money. That's all it boils down to. Because if
well,
it was, because really, hey, then let's write a letter to Senator Tim Scott and to, not Tim Scott, but to Jeff Duncan and Ann Thayer and our state representatives. Say, hey, look, this is something that needs to be changed. And only Columbia, the legislator in Columbia we present the bill. Hey, this needs to be changed. They vote on it, becomes law. Next thing you know, hey, now this thing is simplified. It's not taking money out of anybody's pockets really per se, because the property's still going to be sold in a tax sale or what have you. It's just fixing the deed system because it's stupid.
I just remembered what the date was, and I'm just going to make. I think it's 1066. I'm just going to see if that's right. Yeah, 1066. I think I said 1022.
Yeah.
Either way, it's an antiquated law. It should be gone. And it was a way for lords and non-commons to lay claim to property at even after their taxes were taken.
Is that a South Carolina
It's clear across the United States in perverted forms. It's everywhere. Almost all real estate laws in the United States are based off the laws of England in 1066.
Right.
So people that couldn't even wash themselves well and and threw poop out on the streets are still determining what's a good law in our country. It just don't make any sense, you know. Um, it's and you know they always want to say everything's based off law and we got to build upon the law, blah blah blah. We need to change this. We need to make it legitimized.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well, we need to
take the
modernize it.
confusion out of it, and then there won't be any feuds over land.
Well, see, and here's the thing about confusion. Lawmakers
Make
and
money off
lawyers,
of confusion.
that they do. And they write these laws they don't write laws in layman's terms. Okay? It's not like the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery or whatever. They write laws. It's all this convoluted language that it takes a 30-year scholar from some foreign or fancy college to decipher what it even means. Why
Well,
not? Okay, this is the rule. This is the law. Hey, it's illegal to do this or this or this. Why do you need this, what I like to call lawyer
and that
jargon?
is why there is also the wording that ignorance is not an excuse of the law, because we know that not everybody can read that stuff. And even if you can read it or get access to a book of it without extensive study, you're never really going to fully comprehend any of these laws. And I mean, now a person could go and do the work themselves and eventually get the process done.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people get frustrated. And, you know, if I ever wanted to build a home or anything like that on that land, I couldn't do it. Now, not by today's building and code standards and laws and things like that. Now, if I used the squatter's rights, I could go on my property and squat, I suppose, and build a homestead and do homesteading. But I better have every letter of the law figured out and meet every freaking rule, or they're
Yeah.
going to kick me off my property.
Yeah.
And then also take me to jail or take me to court.
Probably take you to court.
And probably even take me to jail for violating some law. Even if it was for a day, you know, then you got a record. Then you got a record.
Then you got to hire a lawyer to get out of all that
because you
crap.
wanted to live on a piece of property, you know.
Well,
and you know, if we would just simplify all avenues of purchase, anything that costs over X amount of dollars comes with certification, documentation, and titling. See, and that's the other thing. Your deed is a deed. Your deed is a piece of paper that says you rightfully own the property. It is worthless without the title. The title is worthless without the deed.
right.
So if you got title, but you lost the deed because of taxes, then neither one of you own the property in a fashion where you can use it.
Yeah.
So why are there two documentations for the same thing? There should be one documentation. The rightful owner officially is.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to say, okay, they should have never sold it for taxes in the first place, here's your money back, and we're giving the deed to the person that has the title. Fine. Or if you want to say that person properly lost their land because they did not pay their bill, i.e. taxes, and then give the title to the person that owns that piece of property.
Yeah. Well, that would be just as simple as the county printing up a new title and what the cause in the section for what the cause, what the reason is for printing a new title. Previous owner so and so did not pay taxes, so therefore property was sold in tax sale. So the new owner is so and so who rightfully owns and said property, and this is the new deed and title, whatever.
Now here's the funny thing about that. I believe I'm right in this. When they sell a vehicle at a government sale, they provide a title for the vehicle. Oh yeah, I can write a title for that.
I don't know. I don't know much
But
about that sort of thing.
but land, you can't do it. Well, I mean, straight up, if you don't pay your bills,
Yeah.
somebody else ends up owning what you used to own.
Yep.
That is how that works.
Yep.
So it's how it should work on paper. If you didn't pay your bills, you should own it.
Yep.
You know, this other person gets it. The person that paid for it, they paid your bills, they get it. They paid
Yep.
the bills, they paid the fees, they paid the doc fees. Why am I paying doc fees if I don't get proper documentation when I'm done?
Yep.
There's a good question. Why did it cost me $300 to get a worthless piece of paper that I can't use my property on?
There again,
Now, I
I'm
can
gonna,
go
I'm
to
gonna
my
say this big
property and I
word,
can
this
hang
big
out my
B word.
property and I can do everything I want except for make improvements on my property.
It's called bureaucracy.
Well, it's called nonsense, is what it is.
Well, I know, but
Common nonsense.
well, touche, because that's exactly what it is. It's common nonsense, and it is nonsense, and
Well,
we're
into the weekend. Neither one of us is starving. I think I'm starting to put on weight again. I feel bad. I want to, lose weight, not gain weight. I hope that we get somebody that's listening, and I'm going to do you like I did you last week, and you never did answer the question, or not last week, earlier this week. I told you I needed 3 hashtags and 6 keywords. And you sent me 3 hashtags, but you sent me no keywords. And that leaves me to putting out there what I think is going to work. And
no doubt.
I'm going to tell you right now, it didn't work because the way I think and the way other people think, probably not the same on some level. So work on your 3 keywords or your hashtags and your 6 keywords and get back to me and I'll post this video.
I'll get on that here in just a few minutes because
well, I think I'm about to run out of battery, which means we're going to run out of something here real soon.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm going to stop the recording and bid everybody a good weekend.
Yes, and we will see you guys. See y'all next week.
And we might want to get a sponsor so that we can keep talking.
Right.
I would like to get some random things like, motorcycles to try to destroy to prove they're in good shape, things like that. I'm just making fun because I was watching the other day somebody getting a bunch of boxes and opening it up real carefully, and I was jealous of their Nikola Tesla doll. I would have liked some Tesla stuff. I'm a fan, but I plan on someday doing reviews on my show on a regular basis, but not really to get free stuff. And so far, everything I've reviewed, I've paid for. So
I'm all for free stuff. If y'all want to send it to me to review, I promise you, I'll give you a good review if you just, or if I like it. Yeah.
And now they're going to ask for your home address so they can come and stop.
I got a PO box. I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll share it. Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.